You are the CTO of a prestigious company and you are betting on AI. In adopting the generative AI technology sufficiently, it is very critical that you pick the right type of the generative model. We have the encoder models, which are good at analyzing the text. Then we have the decoder models that are really good at generating the text. Now we have a combination of both encoder and decoder models, which do both and are good examples for translating languages. Now, granites are decoder only models. Granites are really good at building your business applications. For example, the customer support, HR automation, regulations and threat management, and even cybersecurity and the sustainability solutions. So it covers the whole breadth of the business applications. Now let's take a look at the granite models and their abilities. So the granites are, remember, granites are really built for end users and the employees to make their day-to-day drudgery tasks into automated tasks and saves you a lot of time, right? Granites are purpose-built, targeted, and they are built on trusted content sources such as USPTO, SEC, Wikimedia, right, and financial info resources, and also the research content out there, right. So this is what makes these granite models more trustworthy. Now, let's look at some of the abilities of the granite models. Q&A, question answering based on your domain content. You want to get the best responses from your content, not canned responses, but by understanding the context of your question and retrieving the corresponding responses, right? The generative capabilities are also important. Generating a blog post or generating an executive summary, right? Creating a job post for the HR managers, or creating an email for your customer for whom you are providing some insurance, etc. The perfect model for Q&A and generate purposes is Granite 13B chat. It is a multi-turn model where it allows you to go back and forth to get the correct responses. It reduces bias in providing those responses for you, and believe me, it has a very large context window. Now, let's look at the extract feature. Extracting is about taking out, surfacing the most important information from a large document, right? You know, the customer information, or it can be about a clause in a contract. What is the clause in a contract and what is the net income, right? What is the total contract value? It could be about that. So these pieces of information that are hidden in a large document, you can quickly extract that information with the large language models, such as granites. 34B Instruct is a fantastic model for that, right? Summarization. How many of us do summarizations on our daily lives, right? It is very, very time consuming. Now, summarization of a large document, right? Summarization of a meeting notes, right? It can be about extracting information and creating an overview of a purposely built SOW, right? You name it. Wherever you are trying to summarize and you are spending a lot of time, the Granite models are going to be very useful for you, right? Classification of information. This is another important one that we do, every corporation goes through. It is about classifying customer responses or customer feedback or employee satisfaction surveys, etc., right? It can also be classifying documents, by the way, or classifying a single document and based on different categories, right? The products, the hardware, the security aspects of it, and so on. So you can apply the classification in several ways. Now, apart from doing extract, summarize, and classification, the granites are really purpose-built for multiple languages. 13B pretty much really good for English, right? But what about the other languages? There are top 5 languages in the world, such as German, right? French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. So that covers most of the world, right? We have more languages, but these are supposed to be the top 5 languages. And we will be able to support that with 20B multilingual, right? And this Granite model is really good at supporting these languages, and they also identify the languages as well as translate them bidirectional, meaning they can translate these languages from English to German, for example, and German back to English, and retain the context, retain the meaning, the nuances of the language by making it multilingual. Now, as I said before, Granites are really good at text generation as well as code generation, right? Let's not forget about code generation. This is super critical for the enterprises out there. Let's take the example of COBOL, right? COBOL is an ancient language, right? And it was the most popular language that most of the big banks in the world, financial companies in the world, are based off of COBOL language. However, we do not have those skills available to us anymore. Very minimal skills are available. So wouldn't it be great if you have a large language model that can understand the COBOL language and convert it into a current language such as Java? And we can do that. And we do have a code gen model in Granites that does exactly that. And we do have a solution for that, right? And let me give you another example of Ansible, right? This is a configuration and installation system. It is a very popular tool, and the code gen has also been applied to do Ansible playbooks. It takes several hours for a developer to build a playbook to instantiate a system, for example, right? Install the software and configure it and so on. Whereas with Ansible, you can give just text instructions instead of the code-based instructions. For example, you can say install this software, and that Ansible code gen is automatically going to take that text and convert that into an Ansible code and do the necessary actions. So in conclusion, I highly recommend that you focus on 3 criteria in selecting your generative AI models. Let them be trusted, targeted, and super efficient for that matter, right? I also want you to make sure that it delivers all the capabilities that we talked about so far. But don't stop there. I encourage you to go a step further by incorporating the AI ethics principles in your solutions and in the selection of your large language models. Let them be fair, let them be bias reducing, right? And let them be explainable as well, right? Let them take the regulations into consideration out of the box. Now, why don't you join me in adopting generative AI, the Granite models, responsibly for your corporations?